Socrates questioned people. Plato began asking what kind of creature the human being actually is. And perhaps one of his most enduring images appears in the Phaedrus, a chariot, two horses, and a driver trying to hold them together. One horse is noble, disciplined, elevated. The other impulsive, chaotic, hungry, passionate. And the human condition becomes the struggle of trying to steer both at once. Thousands of years later, the metaphor still feels strangely modern. We often imagine ourselves as rational creatures, but human life repeatedly reveals something else: desire, competition, pride, attraction, aggression, status, fear, ecstasy. Forces that do not disappear merely because we became civilized. Perhaps this is why speed still fascinates people. Horse racing once carried this emotional charge. Today, Formula One often does something similar. Human beings gather to watch someone ride the edge between mastery and catastrophe. Man and animal, or now perhaps man and machine. Who dares most? Who controls power best? Who loses control? Beneath the technology, something in science still watches. Plato understood that the human psyche was not fully unified. Modern psychology repeatedly rediscovers the same insight in different language. Freud described conflicts between instinct morality and conscious control. Jung spoke about the shadow, the rejected or unintegrated parts of the self. Contemporary psychology speaks about emotional systems, impulsive, defensive, attachment patterns, trauma, and affect regulation. Different vocabulary, similar human struggle. Part of us wants order, part of us wants intensity, part of us wants transcendence, part of us wants immediate gratification. And perhaps wisdom is not the destruction of one horse by the other, but learning how to hold tension without being torn apart by it. Plato's image is powerful precisely because neither horse disappears. Civilization does not erase instinct. Education does not eliminate desire. Morality does not dissolve aggression. The horses remain alive. The question becomes, who's driving? Or perhaps even more dangerously, is anyone truly driving at all? Sometimes modern culture swings toward suppressing instinct completely. Other times it glorifies instinct as authenticity itself. But both extremes may misunderstand something important. Chaos alone does not create a meaningful life. Neither does sterile control. The Greeks had a word connected to this tension, arete, often translated as excellence or virtue, but perhaps closer to the idea of fulfilling one's deepest potential properly, not merely winning, not merely obeying, but becoming fully realized. And this becomes especially interesting when we move from Plato to Robert Pirsig. In Zen on the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, Pirsig resurrected the figure of Phaedrus almost like a psychological ghost. But now the question was no longer only about reason controlling passion. It became a question about quality itself. What is good? What makes something excellent, beautiful, alive? And perhaps most importantly, do we truly need authorities to tell us? Pirsig became fascinated by the strange fact that human beings often recognize quality before they can define it. A person may hear music, see craftsmanship, encounter writing, conversation, design, or human presence, and immediately sense something real before explanation arrives, almost as if perception itself already contains valuation. This is where Pirsig becomes deeply interesting psychologically. For Freud, the deepest forces often lived underneath civilization. Primitive instincts, drives, sexuality, aggression. The engine room was below. But for Pirsig, the highest source, quality, almost feels above us, like creativity, truth, or meaning arriving from somewhere beyond rigid categories. One vision descends downward into instinct, the other reaches upward toward excellence. And perhaps human beings live somewhere painfully between those directions, between appetite and aspiration, between impulse and transcendence, between the dark horse and the longing for something higher. Maybe this is why Plato's Chariot still matters, because the image refuses simplistic answers. Human beings are neither pure reason nor pure instinct, neither machine nor animal, neither fully civilized nor fully wild. We are attentions attempting coherence, and perhaps the deepest question is not whether the dark horse exists, it clearly does. The deeper question is whether energy, desire, aggression, ambition, sexuality, competitiveness, and longing can become integrated into something meaningful rather than merely destructive. Perhaps that is part of what excellence truly means. Not the absence of conflict, but the ability to carry opposing forces without collapsing into either chaos or deadness. Plato gave us the chariot. Freud explored the underground. Jung explored the shadow. Phaedrus searched for quality. Different centuries, different language, yet perhaps all circling the same mystery. What does it mean to become human being who can hold power, instinct, freedom, and meaning together without losing the soul in the process?